Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg apologized to parents whose children were harmed by social media as the Senate Judiciary Committee grilled the chief executives of 5 big tech companies. CTV's Jeremy Sharon joins us live now with more on the hearings. Jeremy, what could the U.S. government demand that big tech companies do now that we've heard from the Senate and the CEOs of these companies?
That is the challenge, Jen. Look, the big question is what kind of an impact will these hearings actually have? And of course, having all of these big tech CEOs testify is powerful, and lawmakers were able to question them and grill them. And we saw some heated moments, specifically between Missouri Senator Josh Hawley and Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Senator asked him whether or not he had compensated families of children who have been impacted by the harms of social media. Some of those families sitting right behind Mark Zuckerberg with the pictures of kids that they've lost to suicide due to the impacts of social media. And so Mark Zuckerberg was asked if he had compensated any of these families, to which he said, "I don't believe so." He was also asked whether or not he had apologized to these families, and that's when we saw that moment where Mark Zuckerberg turned around and addressed the families that were sitting behind him and apologized to them for what they had been through. But the question is, and remains, what kind of an impact can the government have, and what kind of measures can they impose to force these companies to come up with better policies and better regulate their policies to ensure that young kids are being protected? And part of the frustration by senators is that legislation is still stuck in Congress and has yet to pass that would make meaningful change, that would force some of these companies to move forward with regulations that lawmakers are pushing for, things like age limitations and other measures to protect kids, young kids who are on these platforms. And so all of these big companies claim that they have policies to protect kids, that they are doing things, coming up with programs. But in terms of what kind of an impact these lawmakers can have, it's still in the hands of Congress, where a lot of this legislation is stuck up and has not passed yet. So that is the big struggle in terms of an actual impact on imposing these regulations on these companies.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Yesterday, a female senator raised the question, or the point of, when we saw the fuselage, the door blow out on that plane, they grounded them immediately. And yet, what have we done with social media? Okay, Jeremy Sharon joining us live. Thank you so much for that.